Well, he just sits right here in for him.
He usually sits next to me. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Rabbit.
It's good to see you.
How are you?
How you been?
I'm good. How are you?
You're kind of surprised, kind of not.
While we were here talking, the line today. Oh, have you really? Yeah, good with you. Yeah. I've been in a few bars myself, but I don't remember that. I've been there. Oh, really?
And is it with a Y? P-L-Y?
For them to
Yeah. Oh, Judge,
How you doing?
you know what? I'm doing pretty well, and I don't take second opinions.
Let's just keep it at that.
Just keep it at that.
All right, well, looks like it's 1:30, so I can go ahead and call this meeting to order as the chairman of the Court Service Advisory Board. This is our meeting for December 2nd. And I'm going to start with, do we have anybody online? Nobody's online right now? Okay. So let's go ahead and do our roll call. We just kind of go around the hill.
Brian Line.
Ken Briggs.
Judge Stoner.
Rick Warren.
Tom Rabbits.
Kelly Basie.
Butch Freeman?
Ms. Basie in here for Mr. Prater.
Huddleston.
Mr. Huddleston. Very good. Okay, since we don't have anybody to join us online, we can just go right to the first order of business, which is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting of September 9th. Those minutes they were online. And is there a motion to approve those minutes? Mr. Rabbits has moved, Mr. Warren seconded. So all in favor of approval of minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will abstain based upon not having been here.
Okay.
But I have full faith in the ability of the exceptional people we have taking good notes, so I know that.
A lot of confidence, I share that.
I love it.
So approval of the minutes stand approved. So moving on to the second item of business, which is discussion and possible action regarding the day reporting center at North Care. Status report on that. Right now, there's a report there. Do we have a report from North Care on that?
Yes, everything is in your packet.
In the packet there. We have September's and October's reporting. I guess we're seeing the a motion to accept these minutes, these reports from North Care.
Motion to accept.
Motion's been made and seconded. They can approve. All in favor of accepting the North Care Day Reporting Center status report, say aye.
Aye.
Any objection? No objection, so those will now be approved. So then moving on to item 3, discussion of possible action regarding Oklahoma County Court Services Bureau monthly statistics reports. Mr. Graham Billingsley here to present those.
Good afternoon. So while you're reviewing that, I'll just throw a few numbers like usual. Without conditions, we had 65 qualified, 57 that were approved, 402 supervised. With conditions, 61 were presented to judges, 49 approved, supervised 225. And you will notice our GPS continues to grow and grow. After we talk about October, I'll bring something up about GPS, but that's just one thing to bring up. Our GPS does keep growing. So that's September. And then October, without conditions, 54 with 51 approved, 415 supervised. Conditions, conditional bond, 56 sent, 33 approved, with 216 supervised. The one thing I did want to mention to everybody, just so you're aware, we found this out today due to supply chain issues. Our GPS vendors having a hard time getting monitors to not just us, but everybody around the country. So we're We have monitors, we have on hand four, five, is that five? Five on hand, so we're still good. We requested 10 additional last week, or the week before, and we were promised, it should have been here 10 days ago, but we were promised they would be here Monday, 10 additional. So just no cause for concern. I've been doing this in my 11th year, we've never, not one time, ever had an issue. However, this is a little different, so I just wanted to, we found this out today, so I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that's kind of what's happening. So other than that, that's all I got.
Grant, on that, just, has anybody from our drug court office talked to you about our amnesty period?
Very briefly, yes.
And so we just, we may have just a little increased need for GPS monitoring if that goes well. I don't know. But I guess what we'll do is we'll go through people we have on GPS now and see if we can trim those back and make those units available.
Yeah, and Monday was, right, they said Monday 10 more. And if you have a rough number,
This is hard to say.
we'll call them and say, hey, here's another order. So get us an additional 10. We can put that in before somebody else does. But
I think if we end up having 10, that'd be a huge success, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's really just hard to say.
Right.
We've never done this before.
yeah, because there'll be others too. So we'll ask for more when we get back to the office. Yeah.
Realizing that the chances of this are very small chances of not having your GPS. But what's the alternative if we don't have GPSs, physically have the instruments?
Judge?
What's the alternative if we don't have the GPS units?
Yeah. Right. I'm hoping we don't get there, but
we do, in our program, we do day reporting, which is, to try to check in. It's not, it's reliable sometimes, but it's not nearly as reliable to have a GPS unit. GPS unit is not foolproof. I mean, all it takes is a pair of wire cutters. You cut it off and you can be, so it's, but I don't know, really, a good alternative to GPS monitor.
yeah, like an easy call-in status from your home phone every hour. I mean, we'll make it work. I mean, like I said, hopefully we don't get to that point, but if it does, I think that would be just off the top of my head a quick.
What would we call that? What would we call, if we were gonna ask you for that, what would we call that?
Like the probably just on the order. Yeah.
Okay.
Call in status from a certain phone number every hour. But if it gets to that point, Judge, I'll contact you ASAP and let you know so you can get the word out. But again, I didn't want to cause any concern. I just, because of everything happening in the supply chain, and they sent us an email today, so it was perfect timing to let everybody know.
Have we had an incident, or do we have any incidents of them accidentally getting cut off?
Accidentally?
Yeah, obviously.
Not accidentally.
Do we have it? Seriously, do we have much trouble with that?
Well, there's two issues with the GPS units that people will let them go dead. They just fail to charge them. And we'll get an immediate report. Their office is very good about letting us immediately if the GPS unit goes dead. Even if it goes dead for a short period of time, if it goes dead for 10 minutes, we'll still get a report on that. But what the real problem is when it goes dead at 8 o'clock at night and they don't charge it back up for 2 days later, sometimes we're trying to track them down. That's one problem. The other big problem is that sometimes, once in a while, they'll hook them off.
So it does happen from time to time.
Yeah.
But boy, the ramifications to the individual are not real good.
Well, it's not the best, but at the same time, I don't know. There's not a statute on make that a crime to do that. For me,
There's not.
You think it'd be like escape or something, but it's not. And so it's I think there's some civil liability. There might be liable for the cost of the unit. And
It's
good
filed as destruction of private property, $1,500.
It could be destruction of private property. Okay.
So would you?
But if they're cutting that off, they're really not thinking about their future anyway. The part of that brain that does that calculation is not working well. So anyway, all right. Any other questions for Mr. Billingsley? I notice you have your other September reports here on the judges.
Yeah, the judge's monthly report. Those are like usual, just a number transfer from the other pages with the total distributed with the number approved for the conditional bond.
All right, is there any other questions, Mr. David?
You just might point out that Terry left and, I know, with Shine and all that, how it's handled now.
Yeah, so for community service, we'll be posting a position for the supervisor of community service. There'll be no lapse of work. There'll be no disruption of what we do as it is. I've had a couple meetings already with everybody over there. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody's on the same page. It's, if anything, gonna run smoother than it was before,
So
so.
Terry's moving to Shine?
No, has left the county.
Oh, she just left.
Yeah. So everything's business as usual, if anything.
You know, looking at the judge reports and the number of denials by Judge Trong, and one of the reasons, obviously, she's getting 37. Maybe we're taking too many cases to one judge. She doesn't feel like she has the time to actually look at these things that she's using denied. Because if you look at, well, Judge Elliott evidently denied one, or did, in October he denied 3, but almost everybody else, when they are taken, they are approved. Like in September's, Judge Quill had 2 taken, Judge Burton had 2 taken, Judge Hammonds had 2 taken, Judge Kirby had 2 taken. Every one of those that was taken were approved, and Judge Trong had 11 denials that month. And then last month she had more denials than she had approvals. And you know, maybe we're burdening her with cases that belong to other judges that should be looked at. And maybe, I mean, especially, you know, they're judges that have certain pet peeves about certain types of cases. And if we know that, we shouldn't be taking it to that judge just to get them denied, especially if it's assigned to Judge Palumbo or to Judge Coyle or somebody else. So maybe your people I know the easy thing to do is to take a stack of 25 at one time and get it done. But that's not, first of all, it's not fair to her because you can't think about it. And second of all, we're getting, and that's a lot of denials. Especially the October.
Are those her cases, or are they, are those her cases, or is she revisiting a whole bunch of cases that on the docket she just took over?
She's just reviewing them. She's the judge that has stepped up and says she'll review.
Judge Palumbo told me she would review them if somebody brought them down.
Yeah, we'd be more than happy.
I just think we ought to be doing it across the board to let all the judges have an opportunity. Because if you don't, then you don't have a buy-in from the judiciary when you're taking everything to one judge.
Sure, yeah, we'd be.
I really think we ought to
The only
consider
issue
I
that
told her she saw 67% of
But
it. Much higher than our rate.
I don't know, I really cannot speak to Judge Strong. Whenever I was doing more of them, you know, I still would deny some that are eligible, but it was almost always because even though the charter is eligible, we had multiple failures to appear. And so it's just like, they failed to appear on the last time we got them on. And so we had failure to appear, and so you start getting 2 to 3 failures to appear. And they were failure to appear for conditional bond last time we let them out. And so I don't know what her rubric is. That was the most common reason of them being denied is repeated failures to appear, because there are they're offenses that were low level. So that, I agree with Mr. Ravis in terms of if there are other judges that we can spread this out, maybe the assigned judges. I don't know if Judge Chung has a bias or anything, but that, to me, that's the most common reasons why they appear to be eligible because of their offense. But when you start looking at it, you're trying to think, is there something we can do to make sure they show up? They just have too many failures to appear. But I don't know, do you have any insight onto Mr. Ravis' concern, which is, that it does, especially in October, seems like a very high number of denials.
You know, I agree with you. I can't speak for judges. I think
Well,
you
but
answered the question.
These particular ones, I don't know what she would usually mark on and why she's doing that.
No, like
Yeah.
judges won't put in there a reason why they denied somebody, but you got it. The assumption is they look at the criminal history with the failures to appear.
The problem is we're giving her way too many cases, and she doesn't have enough time to think about it, and that's why. And there's some that are probably closed cases, and she's denying them because she is letting that many people she's letting out a ton of people too. I'm not criticizing her, I'm just saying that we need to more evenly divide the cases up so that, because, I mean, like for instance, Judge Stoner says on failure to appear, so maybe that's an issue, but if you look at it, a lot of times the failure to appear is cost docket only, okay? That's different than committing a new crime and jumping bond. Or failure to appear and then they showed up the next day and the judge set it aside, but it still shows up when NCIC is a failure to appear.
We actually will report that to the judge, so if it is.
If the judge has time, they might actually read it. But if they sit there and they look at it because they're pressed for time and they have 8 or 9 failure to appears, they don't sit there and look at the reason why they failed.
So how are those cases assigned?
They're not, they just take them to who they want to
They
be.
take it, who's,
To Trump, yeah, because
Judge
that's,
Strong
She's
has
saying,
agreed.
yeah, that's why
almost
we.
twice whatever, 11 other judges are only saying half of what she said.
Yeah, and that's why she's, like I said, the one who's agreed to do it.
She's doing it on the
To do
weekends
it.
also.
You're
But
the
we're
one,
more than happy to share the wealth.
but you're the ones that take it to the judge though.
Right.
And so you select Judge Strong or Judge Elliott or Judge Burton. And for example, I noticed Judge Burton, and I have no idea what the reason behind it is, had none in October. I would think that she, next to Judge Stoner, probably knows this process as well because she sat on this board with us for so long. So anyway, I'm just surprised that she's not overworked on these.
Yeah, we'd be more than happy. We can share the wealth.
Judge Elliott saw 3, denied 3. He saw 1, he denied 1.
Yeah, he's consistent.
Very good. I can't judge that. Nothing inconsistent.
Sure, we'll do that. We'll do that moving forward, and we'll take a look.
any other further questions, Mr. Billingsley?
Mr. Chair, could I ask a question from the audience?
Sure.
In that gallery?
Yeah.
On this issue of the FTAs potentially driving denials, we had talked about creating a system where some of these conditional bonds would be referred for offender screenings to maybe give the judge a little more comfort and possibly determine that they qualify for one of these programs. And my understanding is there haven't been any that have actually occurred. Is that right, Mr. Billings?
Is that through? Are you talking about the North
The Wednesday, yeah, the Wednesday
The North
morning.
Care? Yeah, we sent out messages. We talked to all of our defendants in person and via message to encourage them to go get an offender screening with the potential of, pleading into a drug court and maybe expediting the process. I don't.
Except these 20 that were denied in Judge Strong for October, it would have been really helpful both to the DA and to the drug court, mental health court, and all the courts for somebody to do an assessment of that person immediately when they're in the jail. I think that's what Tim's saying is, why don't we sit there if the judge says, I just don't want to do it because I don't like the crime or there's something about this, then the next thing we do is we sit there and we do an offender screen. And if the offender screen shows they're eligible for a program, maybe we put them in a program before and see how they do for a month or two.
Because they're in custody, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
they
it.
do the offender screening while they're
So
in custody.
North Care's in there, right? And they can. Yeah, that's easy. They can do those offender screens on all those people.
Well, maybe what we ought to do is have a policy, if they're denied an OR or a conditional bond by the court, that you just send them a straight referral with all those offenders.
Yeah.
to
Yes.
them.
Could you send
Yep.
us a referral? Yeah.
Not a problem.
Those people are listed on the report that I send you every day.
No, I'm saying, let's do a step further and say, these people need to be assessed as they were denied based on just some words to that effect.
So we'll continue to send that
Yes.
that one report, and then we'll add another report and send specifically denied by judge to you.
It doesn't even have to be another report, you can just put a sentence on that.
Yeah, most of the people who would be qualified for a conditional bond would be people who would likely be eligible just based on their crime, their offense for a treatment court. Doesn't mean they're eligible, but they at least we get a jump start on the screening process. I mean, I'd like to have everybody screened in the jail. I mean, the more information we have on anybody that has a charge is eligible for for a diversion program, it would be really helpful to have that North Care screening as soon as possible. We can get them out as quicker.
Well, the original agreement with the Department of Mental Health, when we went to whereas, is that's exactly what they would do.
Yeah.
Mr. Prater and myself and his wife, we met with her and she assured us that, I mean, she wanted to sit there, we said, we're not gonna do murder, we can just waste our time. But anybody who is eligible for a program should be screened in the jail.
Well, North Care is willing to do more, especially in custody, and we're actually talking with Mr. Williams about giving them a spot in some of the vacated sheriff's area. So, because one of the problems is the 6th floor where they used to be is not COVID conducive, surprise, surprise. So, the idea is to create more space in the 1st floor to let North Care be there so they could do these offender screenings right away, especially in this situation where you have a denial. They could give that person while still in custody the screening and see if they're eligible for it.
Absolutely, glad to help. We'll send you those names.
It seems like during your screening process, though, if you've seen they have failed to appear more than 2 or 3 times, they shouldn't be on this list anyway, because as Judge Stoner said, that's one of his strongest reasons for putting them on the line. We're kind of wasting our time putting somebody's had 5 failed shows. He's not going to get on this list.
You'd be.
But that's the individual judge's decision, is it not? In other words, that's still a subjective, it's not an objective in that.
You're asking them to either screen them or that's the problem.
Right, and you'd be surprised, there's a large majority of our folks have failures to appear. They're not just seeing one failure to appear and it's an automatic denial, it's, because we obviously deliver those and a lot of those are approved, so a lot of them, you'd be surprised in the number of people who have failures to appear in their criminal history, but we're talking like the.
Well, and also, you investigate a certain percentage of people and you don't present those to the judge because you think they're you have several reasons. Maybe it's they got a real bad background. If they had 200 failure to appear, would you go ahead and take it to the
Right,
judge?
yeah, we'd send that to
Screen it
you.
out before.
Yeah, those are
Send it to rabbits.
Yeah, directly.
You see, like, look at this October report. We have defense without conditions, we'll have 12 of them that failed to appear. So there's 400 people being supervised, and then 12 of them failed to appear. Well, those people get rearrested,
Right.
and then they come back again, and so like, well, they meet the criteria, and so it might do a workup on them again. But
Right,
they're like, well, we just let you out, and you just didn't show up, and it wasn't like I was a day late. It was like they had to go track them down. This was not somebody, because usually you're good at they're a day late, or something happens, you get them back on the docket, get them going, and so it's like, and it's usually not one failure. It's usually like every time they come to court, they just don't show up with the condition. That's where I get concerned signing off on it, because you tell like last 4 times you signed off on it, they fall in that category, the ones that even though you got them out. So everybody that you see on here in October had 7 people that failed to appear, 5 that failed to appear, 12 and 4. Those people come back. Those are the ones that usually when they make it back to this other page, but well, it's hard to sign off on them when they just repeatedly don't.
So Judge, won't the offender screening take that into consideration as far as whether they're eligible for a program?
Oh, well, for the program, yeah, but it's not, for conditional bond, it's hard to put your name on it if they just have.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if they deny it and we then do an offender screening, even if they're not eligible for the program, it'll give the judge more information.
Yes, that's true.
And we'll get the cases disposed of quicker and into the programs.
It would be an answered prayer if that happened. I think we had a meeting outside of this meeting with North Care where I think there was a question of if the jail could accommodate because of the short staffing right now. But
We're working on that. Mr. Williams has said he's willing to let them in there to try to help them, so.
we were thinking of maybe even letting them go in on the pods and have a special room that they could go in and do the
It's only like 45 minutes to get it done.
Yes, right. And if that could happen, this is a good idea to have it done if they're denied their bond, because then, they're probably, statutorily a pretty good candidate to come to the DA's office for the next step, so that would be great.
Yeah, and Judge, if one's denied and then the offender screening's done and you see the results of that and they're still in custody, you can send them to us. or request more information from us, or release them and send them to us for supervision, even though they've been denied, after that, and there's more information, send them to us and we'll move on from there. We'll be more than happy to do that.
So, right now, I'll entertain a motion to accept the monthly statistics report for September, October, and also judicial reports for September and October.
So moved.
Second.
And second, all in favor, accept those reports, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. So let's go, item number 5, discussion and possible action regarding a change to the court services intake cover sheet as attached.
Tim and I talked just about an hour ago, so
Yeah,
if you have anything you want to add,
Yeah, no,
you're
I'll
welcome to.
just give the background as to why we're here. So in March of 2020, pre-pandemic, before we realized what it was, we were working on how do we get more data that is analyzable, that gives quality. Mr. Billingsley, with the report you all currently get, there's all sorts of quantitative data as to how many people, but there wasn't really any qualitative data. And so one of those pieces was the question related to race, which isn't on this form. What we've found out, and so as far as qualitative data, what I'll do is I'll hand out, this is what the pretrial subcommittee, if you can take one and pass it out, determined, not just court services, the other programs, drug court, community sentencing, diversion hub, are already tracking most of this. And so these indicators, key data indicators, come directly out of the Bureau report from 2016. And so court services did not have the technological ability to track this data while the other ones had it. So we proposed just changing the form to add the racial issue. And then we got into discovering Connexus. And so we sort of put this on hold because we thought Connexus was going to give for court services all these data indicators that we have here in front of us. Now we're a year later and we're still not able, because of Connexus's problems with the analytics, we're not able to pull that information. And so I think for you all, you've got to think through, how do we solve the problem of what kind of qualitative data do we have to measure performance for court services other than just the quantitative as to how many people are being done each month. Until that qualitative solution comes out, my proposal was just that we simply change the form to start capturing this data so we don't lose another year of data that's not recorded. What Mr. Billingsley informed me was that now Jail Tracker has, at the top of it, the 4 that are tracked already for drug court, community sentencing, is age, race, gender, and clients by phase. Jail Tracker will give us age, race, and gender. And so I guess the question really for you all is, now that Mr. Billingsley can track that data, how do you all want to see that on a monthly basis? And then I think the next question is, for these qualitative indicators, program completion, revocation rate, average bond rate, zip code even, how do you all start harnessing that data and having it provided to you all on a monthly basis? And so the pretrial subcommittee, where CJAC in general is willing to help this board in whatever way is necessary. So I think for this meeting, this form doesn't need to be changed because Mr. Billingsley says you can track that. I think for you all, the question is, how does he provide you that information now that we know we can track it? And I can answer any questions or.
I'm on the pretrial subcommittee. I'm chair, Rick's on it. So we'll look into it in January at our meeting, and then we'll come up with a recommendation for this board and for some of the other programs.
So-
Make sure it gets put on
So what you're saying now and what you're recommending for this board is that we not take action on this particular item number 5, is that correct?
Other than, and I don't know exactly how the agenda is worded, but if we now know we have this data that's available to us, my suggestion would be that Mr. Billingsley starts providing an age, race, gender, to you all, just like we're doing with community services, just community sentencing, just like we're doing with drug court. Like this is standard data that's already being collected in other programs. So that the challenge becomes when you compare these diversion programs across the continuum, court services doesn't have a way to be compared to the other programs because that data is not available. If it's now available, our argument would be it should be being provided in the same way drug court's having to provide it. Judge Elliott's having community sentencing provide that information. To create a continuum of uniform data, we should have court services do that as well. I don't know if you can do that with the way the agenda is worded, but I think for your January meeting, it should be something we should discuss.
I agree that, and I would urge this board to, we have to be able to, as leaders, create a framework where we can evaluate whether or not there's some kind of disparate impact of different groups. And if there is, why is that? And so this data really is critical for us understanding our own program, so we understand what the makeup of our community is, what our jail population is, what our people we have supervised are. And so if there's a huge disparity between those populations, so if we have 20% of our population black, and we have only 5% of our population that gets out on conditional bond is black, and we have a disparate impact. We need to find out why is that, what's going on there, and is there some kind of bias in our selection process or something. And we have to be proactive in making sure that we have the application of our discretion is fairly administered. So I don't really know. Grant, do you have an idea of how best to be able to, since it's available?
Yeah, for now, the only thing I can add specifically on this, and Tim and I talked about this, is as far as race, gender, that type of data. Yeah. With Connexus and Jail Tracker, that data has been inputted into Connexus for our people for a year, maybe roughly a year now. So basically, anytime somebody's printed off all those numbers you see, we manually go in and we create a profile on each individual person. And during that process, that information is inputted. So, Rick Warren, if he's in Connexus Cloud, I can look him up and it's in there. Yeah. So it's that information is in there. So we don't need that because we're already getting that information and put it in Connexus.
We clearly don't need it on an intake sheet.
Right.
The judges don't need to know what the race is because that's how you get a judge in trouble, because he denied X number. Now saying that, I want to know, what happens later on. But to sit there and present it, it should be totally neutral. So we don't need it. So the way the agenda item is, I don't think we should be doing anything. I also think that we should come up with certain things that we want, which, as a practical matter, this intake sheet doesn't even show sex, doesn't even show age, which are important factors. We ought to know if women are being denied or women are being granted. We ought to know if it's young people are being denied or being granted. And I think what we ought to do is, one, I think CJAC committee can come up with something, but I think we ought to direct Grant at the next meeting to have met with Jail Tracker and come up with a mechanism that will allow us to have reports similar to what we get at community sentencing and other programs.
Well, positive Patty, got my fingers crossed. We're still working with Connexus. I finally heard back from them today. Just so you know, this has been a nonstop us communicating with them. We were advised back in August 2nd that the issues with our reports is because for some strange reason there's 135 active people spinning in our database. We don't know why. They don't know why. They logged into it. They tried to run reports and it didn't work. So since August 2nd, they said, we're gonna get with our guy and we'll find out what's going on. So multiple emails later, 4 months later, we actually ironically heard back from them today. Oh yeah, we'll look into that. We'll find out what's going on. So we're trying, we're working with it. If it does what it says it does, then it's no problem. And all this data will be there and available because we're already inputting that data in on each individual person.
I'm gonna make sure I understand, because if you're using client information form and you're not collecting this data, if you're creating a Connexus profile, are you inputting in the Connexus profile I guess their sex or race that goes in there? Okay.
Because it's
So
coming from the jail
It's
intake
coming from
form.
jail tracker.
Okay.
So the jail intake form takes that, and then he's able to pull that across.
Right, so we have that information.
Why can't jail
So-
tracker come up, spit out a program?
But I guess that's what Tim is asking Grant, how is it that, I think this board would say, we would like to know this information, so then how is it that you present that to us? I guess we don't really care if it comes from Connexus or Jail Tracker. I'm asking you, what would be easiest for you to make sure that we start getting this data as far as what is the breakdowns,
Yeah,
males,
I think-
females, races?
I know for our people in the supervision, I guess jail tracker may be able to tell you who's released pre-trial in different fashions, whether it's bond or what, I don't know. But once they come to us, jail tracker's not gonna be able to know, failures to appear, who completed the
Now,
program.
man, just as far as who came in, I guess, right now, would you mind, maybe since we are gonna maybe table this for right now, for the next meeting that we have, maybe come in a proposal of how it is that, whether it comes from Connexus, whether it comes from Jail Tracker, how it is that you would like to be able to provide this information. And what's easiest for you to do it? What causes the least amount of effort and most convenient, however you put it from Jail Tracker, you can run that report from Jail Tracker. Yes, at least who are approving it with conditions, without conditions.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
I don't know that we need to break it down into how many of those failed to appear at this point. At some point, it'd be nice to have on capability, at least who else getting approved by race, sex, and I don't know how we do that.
If Connexus can't do it, in other words, what he's saying, if Connexus can't do it soon, not like next August, okay? If they can't do it, let's figure out a way to get it from Jail Tracker and get it on our reports every other month. That's what the judge.
Yeah, that's what we like to do, to the extent, and kind of push it to you to try to figure out how to make that work.
I'd like to piggyback just one more request. If we could try to find out how to get number of children and ages. If
Number
there's
of
any
kids.
way, yes,
That-
number of kids and
Oh.
ages of the defendant.
That they have.
That's actually something that's been suggested for the jail intake form to
Yes,
be redone,
okay.
to add that data, so then he would be able to pull that
I
across.
was hearing that it would have to come from jail intake form,
Yeah,
so we can
But I
talk
can,
about that
I
separately.
can talk to them.
Thank you.
All right, so for right now, on item 5, we will go ahead and table that for now, maybe to next month.
If you table it though, the way that the item's written, and we know the DA will make us stick exactly how it's written, then all we're gonna be able to talk about is whether or not to add that information to this sheet, which is where we're at. I think we're gonna ask a little more than that.
Yeah, so this maybe, you're right, this is a discussion of possible action regarding the presentation of certain demographic data.
So we just
Parentheses.
reset it on the next hearing docket.
Which means we need to start all over with an agenda item next month.
Right.
So you need to make that an agenda item for next month.
Yeah, okay.
We'll take no action on this.
We'll take no action on number 5.
Right, that's what
We
I
have to vote on that. No, take no action, as the chairman, I can say we're taking no
Not
action.
unless you wanna strike it.
I'll strike it, sure.
We'll strike that, and then we'll do the next one. All right, item number 6, discussion of possible action regarding the Oklahoma County meeting schedule for the year 2022, and to authorize said schedule to be posted with the Secretary of State, requested by David B. Hooten, the Oklahoma County Court Clerk. There's an exhibit here with the proposed meeting dates for January, March, May, July, September, December.
Move we approve the document.
Motion been made to approve it.
Second.
Motion been seconded. All in favor of approving the calendar year for 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposition, so it carries and the calendar has been adopted. All right, so moving on to the next item, which is citizen participation. Citizen may participate in open meetings. Is there anybody that will participate? No, okay, seeing no citizen participation, is there any board comments? Board has no comments. Is there any new business? Seeing new business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Action.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Chair called the meeting of the Mental Health Court Board. Notice of the meeting was appropriately posted on November 30th. With the individuals who were present, starting with Michael, announced their presence. Michael Taylor, Rich Stoner, Rick Warren, Bob Ravitz, Kelly Dacey, Ford David Prater, and Steve Huddleston, and Butch Frank. Next item, the first item is discussion and possible approval of the September 9th, 2021, 2022 board meeting minutes.
I'll move to accept those minutes.
I second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is discussion and possible action regarding the report for the mental health court. Jenny.
Right, so since January of 2021, we have put in 163 participants in the mental health court program. September, we put in 18. October, we put in 8. In November, we put in 18. We, as of today, we've had 2 pleas yesterday, and I have interviewed 5 more that are scheduled to plead in within the next week or so. We have the count all in the court program, 313. We have 229 active. So I think our tier is 210 and a little up to 220, I think. So we're at active 229. We have 14 in inpatient beds. We have 4 that are in DOC. 3 of those are males and 1 is a female. And then we have 80 who are AWOL, which is the last time we were here, I think we had 100 AWOL. So we're down to 80 now, which is pretty good. We do have participants in Oklahoma County Jail, but we are working on release plans for them, trying to get them to inpatient treatment. Some of them have just been picked up.
Any questions? Looks great.
Thank you.
Motion to accept the report.
Sure, I'll entertain a motion to accept by Rick Warren.
Second.
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 Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I'll push off the next item of necessary office space. I'll probably be here forever and ever. But we'll keep an eye on it and we'll see where we're at. Next item is discussion of possible action regarding implementation of a cloud-based software and tracking communication that would aid in tracking and communicating with or increasing accountability and providing safe and efficient alternatives for conducting mass mental health court dockets in Oklahoma County. Update on implementation.
With Connexus Cloud?
Is that what that is?
I'm assuming.
Okay, go ahead and explain it.
We are using Connexus Cloud. Treatment is communicating through that with some of our participants. The drug testing lab is also sending out the text messages for the times that they're called for drug testing. I think PO might be messing around with it a little bit, trying to work with it as well. I forgot to tell you this, we do now have 2 POs for mental health court, which is fantastic since we only had 1. So that is a good thing for us. So we also have the case manager, also through Diversion Hub, that started with us as well, and he's been doing fantastic with helping us with our AWOLs, trying to get our participants from the jail to my office, and then taking them to DOC and possibly going to inpatient or to treatment with them. So.
Any questions?
My only question about, so my drug court, our bill just came due for Connexus.
Okay.
And do you get the bill? No, I wonder if I got all of it.
I don't get any.
There's an annual fee for that, and I did get I think I get the bill for that. And I was contemplating contacting them and asking for an adjustment, because it did take them longer than what they promised to get us up and running. And now it's integrated, but it's still not fully integrated with the lab yet. So
Yeah,
they made certain promises, and it has added a lot of value. We paid for the first year, but now our second year payment is due. And so I was just going to reach out and try to negotiate something I thought was fair with them and what they would think is fair, because it did take them quite a bit longer to make it operational, and we're still having glitches with the lab side of it. And so I guess that kind of relates to number 6. We're using it, it's still not fully operational. It's not our fault, it's the lab and Connexus's problem. It's still being used for drug testing, notifying everybody to come in, it's working.
Right.
What your thought of, I mean, to me, it's almost worth the money just on that part of it alone.
I mean, it does help out with the participants who have access to phones. I mean, I do have, some who don't have access to phones.
You say 80%, 70%?
Probably about 70.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I think feedback from participants is they like it. But then there's some confusion sometimes that they get a text that says you don't test, but then immediately get a text that says you do test. So there's a little bit of confusion here and there, but it's nothing that can't be, they pick up the phone and call and say, hey, this is what's going on.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I was talking to Mr. Tardibono just before we came to this meeting, and I think there are good things about Connexus, but it really is not as functional as we maybe hoped it could be. The main thing is the communication with the participants, and their customer service is leaving something to be desired. And he did indicate that CJAC would be open to helping us explore other options if we can't get it figured out with Connexus.
Well, I think that's important, but I know Community Sensing quit using Connexus and is using a free program through Google. And they told us a couple meetings ago at Community Sensing that how great it was. It was better than Connexus for what they wanted to do. So, I mean, you start off with Connexus, and they don't. I think we should negotiate. I think we do another year with them. But if we find something in the meantime, it's better. We need to be looking at. We should always be looking at something better.
Our lab it has been encouraging us to switch to a different platform, because that's how we even got introduced to Connexus, is because the lab, CRG Laboratory, said, hey, this is the same company that makes our software, and if you guys get it, we can all communicate together. And so that's when we started exploring, and it looked great. I think they overpromised, in terms of, it does everything it's supposed to do, but for some reason they can't make it integrated fully with the lab, which was part of the promise, is that it works fantastic for this mass communication part. And it's actually fairly, in my opinion, very reasonably priced, even if we just use it for that. But there are other programs out there with the National Drug Court Conference, found another vendor that and has just a comparable program, and their comment was, we blow Connexus away. Everybody has tried both platforms, they like ours better. It's just been taking a lot to get everything up to speed, and then to kind of try to switch horses midstream, hoping, like, what Grant said, they keep kind of promising they keep this stuff fixed. But as Ms. Madison said, they're their customer service has been, they're not following through on some of their promises.
I think we have to quit contracting and accepting less than we contract. We're not happy. That's what we keep doing, even with our phone systems here at the county. Cox has not lived up to it. Their customer service is terrible, and so is this company. And we keep accepting that, and we're setting a precedent for accepting less than what we're paying.
It ends up being $250 a month per program is all that it
I
is.
think
And so,
that's great, yeah.
I mean, and when we look at, I was trying to purchase just texting platforms, and just texting alone platforms were significantly more than $250 a month for the number of people that we have. So to me, there's a lot of value in it, just the texting part of it. But at the same time, if there is something better out there, we gotta, I think with Bob here, we probably, this year, if they can't get it turned around, we can't renew with them.
I certainly agree with Cody.
Okay, but I'll contact them and see what I can negotiate on that.
Leave the agenda item and we'll see where we're at next month after. Thanks, Jenny. Then I'm up to number 8, right? Yeah. Discussion and possible action regarding contracting with Diversion Hub for dedicated employees to handle case management for mental health court. I think we've already, we discussed this and we did tentative approval, but since I'm gonna get the first bill this month, I just wanna make sure it's affirmatively approved by this committee, okay, before I pay them. And I want you to understand, they're not diversion court employees, they're contract employees through us. The Diversion Hub is just supplying the person because we needed to go through some entity because we couldn't, that had benefits and whatever. But there are employees, so if there's ever an issue between the Diversion Hub and us, they'd be doing it in our way, and I'll get involved because that's not what we contract for. And I'm gonna be cutting them a check. Well, it's over it's a little over $4,000 a month because we agreed to $50,000 over 12 months. So
Jenny, can you make sure Judge Burton knows what
Absolutely.
he just said?
Absolutely.
Because that's gonna be super important.
yes, and so it's basically Jenny, the district attorney, the public defender, and especially Judge Burton. That's their boss.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll come back to number 7. Discussion and possible action regarding the website and tracking system. I think, I'm just gonna strike 7, that was 7 to 6. Is that correct?
We were actually having, MIS, I think we were having Kimberly Baird was trying to get us some information to put together a website, a county website that
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Mr. Taylor was helping us to get, and I know Madison was contacting Kimberly Baird about trying to help us with the update on the website.
I have no update except she's willing to do whatever we need her to do.
Well, the issue is the district attorney said no.
Well, but I think we also had the,
No, I think the discussion is cost to the county. And if there's information that we upload to a website we already have, there's no cost to the county.
So we could upload,
we have asked-
we could have a thing that says Diversion Hubs on the county website.
And ideally, it would be a page they could go to with whether it's an address or a phone number or contact email. But I think at this point, that page is waiting for all that information.
Oh, that'd be great.
yeah, I think that was my understanding, they had a kind of the scope of the website, if it was within a certain degree of cost, you think we could get it done. So we'll, Bob, Mr. Chairman, if we could, just table that for next month, let's see if we can make progress on that between now and next month.
Can we get clear, because I was understanding the DA said no to it, so can we make sure that that's.
He said
Well,
no,
like the
she
last
said no.
meeting I was asked about, I went offline with the judge, and I kind of stated what I just stated. And I believe the gentleman that sat in for Mr. Prater that day is under the same understanding.
The difference is, she said if they paid money for it, they're not gonna be paying money for it. That's the difference, I think.
I'll clarify with my office.
Yeah. And also, but on that item too, we've also had conversations with the Ornell Foundation, and that is one of the type of items, we don't have anything formal related to it, but they also said that they could assist in hopefully making something more robust, and there might be resources there. And so I think there's trying to figure out the best way to get that done, whether it is now through the county, but we did have a conversation in September. We had a meeting in September after this meeting with Sue Ann, who said that we made her about some other things that we kind of explained some of the problems that she has, and they might be willing to help with that. So there may be a better way to do it. So if we can, for now, I think we should be gathering the information that we know that we want to have on that, and then let's figure out the best way to move forward with it.
We'll keep that on the agenda too. And I didn't get a vote, did I, on contract, approving the payment to the diversion?
Right.
The chair entertain a motion on number 8 to approve the contract with the diversion hub.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item is discussion of the meeting schedule, which is the same one as you just heard earlier for community service.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Citizen participation, none. Board comments, any of the board have a comment? New business, chair entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Roberts, just to make sure, you did mean to skip 3 through 5, correct?
Did I miss it?
I think you got it, Bob.
How did I do that?
I think we kind
You
of,
sort of tabled one or two.
Yeah,
we kind of did them. all.
Okay, so they're all being tabled 3, 4, 5?
No, I'm sorry, I apologize, 3 and 5, no, 3 was Jenny doing her report, same as, 3 should not have my name, it should have Jenny's name on it. She did both 2 and 3 together, I'm sorry.
Okay.
4, I did not, I messed up on, I did not do it. You have a copy of the mental health court, monthly, munis, reports, and specifically the $1284 fund shows we have $31,000, which is a separate fund that we spend, and the other shows in the mental health court we have $259,665. That's one of the reasons why we're going to be able to contract with the Diversion Hub for 5 years to have the additional employee. So we're not blowing any of that money. So the chair would entertain a motion to accept that mental health court board report.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now the chair will end that. The chair will call the meeting at the drug court, regular drug court meeting, and notice was, of the meeting was properly posted. Mr. Taylor, Mr. Judge Stona, Mr. Warren, Ms. Basie for Mr. Prater, and Mr. Freeman, and Mr. Evans are all present. First item is approval of minutes of September 9th for the drug court.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item is discussion of possible action regarding drug court statistical report. And we're happy to have a new coordinator, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'm a stranger here. My name is David Gilbert. I'm the new program coordinator. I'll be sharing duties with Christina Bolton, who'll be the care coordinator, and I'll take more of the outreach, community, grants, and contracts.
Great.
So nice to meet everyone. As requested, here is information for drug and DUI court. As of today, we have put in 214 participants since January. In September, we put in 22. In October, we put in 9. And in November, we put in 14. We have 511 total participants in the program. Of these, 381 are active in the program. 9 are currently in county jail. We have 9 participants at First Step, We have 6 that are in inpatient state facilities. I take that some can be in private facilities if they have private insurance. 9 are in DOC 6-month sanctions and are not added to the active count. We have 4 male and 5 female that are in DOC 6-month sanctions. 130 participants are currently AWOL from the program. That kind of transitions me into my next topic, which the judge spoke on, which is Amnesty Week. Unprecedented in the program. There's no jail time at all if participants turn themselves in from December 1st until December 22nd. They will only have to do 3 days of shine and have a GPS monitor for 30 days. There is a stipulation agreement, though, for participants that have been AWOL for more than a year, for a year or more. The stipulation being you have to waive your rights to any type of revocation hearing if you go AWOL again. We also had an amazing graduation event. I just want to kind of recap it a little bit with you guys. We've had 4 graduates that spoke, did a wonderful job. Court costs were dismissed. We had expungements. I personally was actually a recipient of one of those expungements. I graduated the program, I think, in 2018. So I was a participant as well. Community partners were recognized, especially the Ornell Foundation, who had just continued commitment and just gracious financial offers to our program. An amazing performance by Kyle Dillingham, if you guys have not heard him yet. And then also, last thing, we're having a Christmas party at Frontline Church, December 17th at 5:30 p.m. And it's a wonderful time for a lot of fellowship with our participants.
Are you inviting us?
I'm inviting you.
Come on, go.
Yeah, Bob, on our celebration of graduates, I agree with you. We need to get it down to an hour. Gotta figure out how to do this.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, if you agree to get it done in an hour, I promise to be there next time. I was there, but I kept looking at my watch after an hour.
There's a couple of glitches. We thought we had it down an hour.
It was great, though. You did a great job. It was a real great presentation.
Thanks for coming, Bob.
Anybody else have any questions? Is everybody okay now with me striking number 8 on the agenda item forever and ever?
Yeah, and this is number 8, right?
That he is
He
number
is
8.
number 8. We
So
will
we
now
no
and forever
longer
refer
want
to you
that
as
on
number
number
8.
We never want to look for another one.
The Ojo. I'm okay with you calling it that.
That's it. That's so far.
Number 8.
The Ocho.
Welcome.
Welcome. That's right.
Next item is discussion possible action regarding use of necessary office space. He could use more office space, there's no question about it. Saying that, we'll one of these days look into it once the 6th floor is built out, maybe come up with an idea.
Do we have any idea when that will be?
On your lifetime.
Really?
6th floor.
I'm thinking of making an offer to the county if they finish the 6th floor for the public defender's office. I'll agree to retire. Get out of your old stairs.
Sir, that could be 3 to 9 years. That was tongue in cheek for those seeing my mask. But we're probably still 2-year window. I know we give you dates, but there'll be a deadline to come and go, I'm sure.
There is a race between getting 6 done and getting the restrooms done, the bathrooms that they're working on.
Yeah.
Right now, they're neck and neck, next century.
Well, yeah, and the scary problem is they switched to men and women's restrooms all over, and they're one every.
It doesn't matter, they're not gonna open anyway, so.
What they're doing to you, I'm in the construction business big time. What they're doing to you is you're an afterthought. It's exactly what they're doing to you. When they got nothing else to do, they'll come here and work. They got another job, you're not a priority. It's just,
And
you're just an
the stuff
They've
that
got
they've
your
done on the
contract, so they come
restrooms.
and work when they got nothing else to do.
One of the big reasons on the restrooms is because when you open that door and then it stays open, line of sight comes in.
Oh dear.
11 seconds.
That's not gonna work.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So outside of that,
It's been a good job.
outside of that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the place?
Is this an appropriate time to talk about
I don't know. Who
small
drew up the
remodels
place?
of the office?
What?
Small remodels of the office? Small remodels. I have
Small
mine.
remodel.
Yeah,
You wanna
Clear
remodel
doors.
your office?
there's
I'd like to,
Small
five
remodels.
out of six citizens that come to this county, come to the fourth floor of the Oklahoma County Court Clerk. On any given day, 1,500 people come there. Some days as many as 2,600. It hasn't been remodeled since probably just a little before Christ was born. You go up there, it's the ugliest floor. It's where everybody's going, and they got this new thing. We're gonna remodel the first floor for social distancing. So where do you think those social people are going? So when you start talking about remodeling, we've been begging for remodeling for 6 years that I've been here. Our floor has tears in it where people trip and fall. It's ridiculous, but like Bob said, he can't even get his 6th floor remodel. Let's start that project, God knows when.
Well, Michael's helping me now. He's
Mike
pretty
can do it,
vocal.
Michael's the guy who can think now.
Appreciate it.
I didn't notice that your floor was so bad because when I go there, all I see are smiles.
I
So
got the
I
best staff
appreciate
in
your
the
staff.
world.
You do. You do.
Okay, I'm gonna move on.
He
Uh,
brought
I'll
that
tell you
up,
what,
he started talking about.
let's add something on this. Discussion and possible action regarding, discussion and possible action regarding use of necessary office space or, remodel of drug court additional space, so we can talk about it next time.
Okay.
Okay, and tell us kind of what you think we needed to do if we had to stay over there. Okay. AWOL participants you already told us about. Drug court budget is given to you. We have munis, and we're still waiting. Evidently, there was an issue that, because we're supposed to put all of the money we get from the Department of Mental Health into the user fee account. And evidently there was a mess, there was something we did not do, so we have to transfer the different ways we checks, which I had no idea. So I just found that out Tuesday, so I'm gonna get, so what we're gonna do is, the money will go into our user fee account, and then we'll put it back into the munis account. Because we're not supposed to keep it in munis, because it is special funds that we got from the Department of Mental Health. But, I'll have it
At
done.
least you know how you're gonna do it, that's the main.
I'm just telling you all what we're gonna do. Anybody have any questions regarding the budget report? Chair will entertain a motion to accept it.
Motion to accept.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This is the cloud-based deal. Have you had an opportunity to look into that?
Yes, sir. I'm pretty familiar with Connexus. It's a great platform, just has a few little hiccups. But that's just my opinion on it.
You guys haven't had any issues with it?
We really need a lot of help and participation from our treatment providers. And so we're really trying to get them on board and educate them.
Okay, great.
We're mainly just using now for the mass texting, mass communication features of it is a predominant reason. And in my view, that's worth the price of it if we don't ever use anything else. But I think it'd be helpful if we could end up having some of this fully functional eventually. So.
Okay, that'd be great. And again, if you talk to the people who went to the Nationals, if you all decide at a future time that there's a better one for approximately the same price, we need to go to that system, especially with computer systems that change on a daily basis. Next item is discussion and possible approval of grant from Ornell Family Foundation for Indigent UA funds for phase 1 participants, others who meet the criteria. Okay, is that the 50,000?
40,000.
40,000.
Yes.
So the Ornell Foundation agreed to give us $40,000 to be used for indigent drug testing, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it went through the community foundation, and then we have to accept it and put it into our account, is that correct? I just want to have the approval of the board that we can accept it down
Make
there.
a motion to approve.
Yeah, what does that check need to be out to the court clerk's office or the county, to Oklahoma County?
Have it made out to the Oklahoma County Drug Court, and then I'll endorse it and give it to David Hooten. He'll take care of the form.
Okay.
Second.
Somebody You can give it to David.
No, I don't know, I give it to Butch Freeman, I'm
Yeah, it's
sorry.
gonna have to come to Butch Freeman eventually.
Okay.
But I usually give it to Christie, cause
Yeah.
that way I know it gets done.
So that way they don't have to bother me.
I give it to either one of them.
This is really helpful for the financial stability of our program because a lot of times, obviously, it helps the individuals, but also when you understand that we're a lot of times having to loan out this money and sometimes don't get it back. And so it's a blessing for both our individuals, but it's also the blessing to help us have financial stability because we end up eating some of this stuff because anyway, they just.
And we haven't gotten that, okay. We
That
haven't-
money is in the in the account at the Communities Foundation right
Okay,
now.
so we're just waiting for the check, so
Are
We
they
wanted
just,
approval today, and so I can request the check.
yeah, they're just waiting for us to request it to get it out of there and come over to us.
Yes, sir.
I would make a motion, I guess we'll, for this, that we approve, that this board approve the acceptance of those funds from Community Foundation. The Ornell Foundation being the Community Foundation.
Second.
A second.
motion made second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item is discussion and possible action of grant from Ornell Family Foundation to hire NPC Research.
Is this a different grant than that $40,000 grant?
They have also agreed to give us a $45,900 grant to hire a consultant firm that specializes in treatment courts. That would come and spend at least 6 months with the program, analyzing how we comply with best practices and how we move the program from good to great, basically.
45.9,
Yes. And maybe some change.
Yeah.
and that's also with Community Foundation now?
Yes.
And so we'll go through the same process, you'll go through the same process of requesting it. Both of these grants will be requested, I assume, at the same time, in the same way.
Could this one go directly from Community Foundation to NPC?
Mr. Rabbits and I were talking about that. I think the statute is a little murky on whether that is an allowable way to expend money.
I would suggest strongly against it.
Me
I
too.
mean, gosh, granted, it's gonna add another step to get it into the county, but Lord Judge, we need that. We really do.
Have it come through the county and not be
Just like that.
You see, we deposited,
Yeah,
Then-
and then the check would be cut too.
I endorse it, and he puts it in our account, then we have it.
county
then we have-
would pay them.
And then the
then we'll
county,
pay
right.
it. They'll they'll
That
send
way
us
you
a
got
bill.
your paper trail.
And it really complies clearly with the statutory language.
I think as part of this action, if the board approves this, it would also be agreeing to enter into the contract with NPC Research. I would ask that that be part of the motion.
Right, we have to do, we're doing that, and plus,
We're the contracting party, in
Yeah.
that case, the county would be.
County would be, yeah. All contracts have to go through Board of County Commissioners and be signed.
now, the drug court, remember, we terminated our relationship where we don't have to do the, remember they had the big deal when Ray Vaughn was, they didn't wanna have any oversight of the, drug court monies or whatever, so they quit accepting our contracts. David and I have been contracting with David Prater and I have been contracting with the Department of Mental Health for cases.
Since Prater's gonna be the one that prosecutes us and you're gonna be the one to defend us, then you have at it.
We're covered.
Yeah, we're covered.
I'll make a note.
The problem,
Future David.
yeah, I mean, the issue was that county said since they didn't have any control over the money, they didn't wanna assume responsibility. And so what we did is we added some people to this board to make it a little bit stronger. And then the contract is signed by the executive board, which right now is Prater and myself. So it says drug court executive board contract. And the commissioners, and then Prater and I are authorized, sign these. I think Carmen, that first assistant, can sign too. On anything, but the way we set it up, we have basically, if it either goes through Munis, Butch, which the county takes care of, and the user fee accounts require the signature of the coordinator, the district attorney and public defender before I can sign it. So if Judge Stoner says, hey, I need X amount of money, I can't just sign anything. It's even, it still has to go to have all three of those signatures on it.
So did we already approve number 10 yet, or we need a motion on that?
Well,
We need a motion?
Yeah.
So we approve the transfer of those funds to the county for the purposes of hiring MPC research.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Last item is discussion and possible action regarding meeting schedule for 2022. You have that?
Yeah, I've seen that. Move to approve it. Motion to accept. Yeah. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Citizen participation, board comments.
There's been some speculation, talk. I am not going to USC. I'm staying right here. University of Southern California. I'm not going
What about
there.
if you get a $10 million offer?
Yeah,
We're staying.
we're staying.
We're staying. The whole
All right.
team's staying.
I'll know that.
We're not-
Your nose is as long as Riley's, right?
The whole team is
The
staying.
whole team.
right?
Oh, we're not traitors here.
Just
We got a team that's committed to this courthouse.
Yes,
Rick Williams
Yes.
is staying.
Just tell you that.
because had we been going to leave, we'd have been gone now to the University of Missouri. The hell with USC.
Yeah, I just found out that there may be some recruiting violations. It's not rumors, it's factual. Because his recruiter was recruiting, a lot of our players came from back in California, was also recruiting for USC.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that declares that was in fact, this board takes a official position that was a recruiting violation. All in favor of that?
Aye.
You know, the real interesting issue is that he's been negotiating with USC since September.
None of us knew about it.
He's been paid by Oklahoma since September. Maybe they have to go after him for 6 months.
I think
Because I bet you he flews in Norman.
Wow, yeah, he goes enormous.
Okay, well, let's finish it. The chair will call the
You
meeting
didn't
of,
write all that down, did you?
Oh,
I'm
heck
gonna-
no. Let's adjourn that last
Motion
one.
to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously.
What's the minute?
Chair will call the meeting of the Veterans Treatment Advisory Board into session. President Mr. Taylor, Judge Stoner, Mr. Warren, Mr. Ravitz, Kelly Dosey before David Prater, and Mr. Prater. First item is discussion of possible action regarding minutes of September 9th, 2021.
Move to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item is discussion about regarding program status report from our coordinator.
Whoa, step right up.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, we'll keep it very short and sweet. We've added 4 veterans since the last report. We have 48 participants in Veterans Treatment Report right now, 40 of which are active. We have 3 enrolled at First Step, 3 are in custody at county jail, 2 pending new charges, and 1 awaiting transfer to a residential treatment facility. We have 1 on 6-month DOC sanction, 1 just an AWOL. We've added an additional graduate since the last report. We have 40 participants who are testing with CRG.
Any questions? Great, good job. Chair will entertain a motion to accept the report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. We're gonna leave, but the chair is gonna strike for this meeting, the discussion and possible.
As we're trying to collect.
Discussion and possible action regarding creating accounts and sub-accounts at the county to hold funds designated for the program.
That was a Veterans Treatment Court user fees that we built into the program that we don't have a way to collect.
Right.
That's the
Okay,
issue.
we'll keep it going that way. Well, we have to have a budget report, I'm sorry. I wonder if I could stretch that too. Well, anybody that's not part of the agenda, but if you wanna look, the Veterans Treatment Court Administrative,
On user fees, across the board user fees, and obviously the most user fees I think are the court fund. But all of our user fees are collected by the court clerk, correct?
Yeah, but this is the problem, which was that drug courts have been created by statute. And there's a specific statute that says we can.
Yeah.
And veterans treatment courts are kind of in this area where I guess we're authorized to have them. There's no specific statutory authorization that authorizes the clerk to accept those funds because, so we might need legislative action. Of course, you go down that path and they start trying to shape you got legislative trying to shape a veterans court they don't know anything about. So I don't know how it's going to shake out, but I want to keep working on it. I don't want to close the door because it's the right thing to do. Our veterans have resources and we help financial stability for our program. But right now we just don't have a statutory way to allow Mr. Warren to accept.
How many veterans courts are there in the state of Oklahoma?
3. Rogers County has one. Tulsa County has one. They're starting one in Canadian County. You know one somewhere?
We visited Tulsa's as well, and I know that whenever I'd spoken to David Clinton last, there was one that was supposed to be going up in Comanche County.
right?
Oh, I would think definitely Comanche County, yeah.
Yeah,
Fort
so
Sill.
there's not a lot of precedent. I mean, so.
And we'll add a budget item on the Veterans Court for every month. It's a user fee account shows how much we had and what the expenditures were. They were the expenditures we statutorily.
Are they paying user fees now?
No, they're just, no. They were told that they're gonna have them, but we don't have a way to collect them, so nobody's paying them.
I got you.
So,
Okay.
Is there the other counties collecting them, or do you know?
so we don't.
Well, there's a way if we have committed veterans, so the veterans can know that, because Mr. Prater and his office just gave me a check that there was deposited in your place today, Butch, for $3,000 for a donation that somebody gave to the Veterans Court. So any veteran who wants to can donate to the Veterans Court by giving a check to.
Make a donation, but it can't be compulsory. I guess is that the.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, if a veteran did that kind of job for 2 years, went through the program and had his case, or her case dismissed, hopefully they'd be committed that, and y'all have that big belief in brotherhood, which is a great part of the veterans program. They can be protecting their future brothers, which we're going to be going through. So maybe we need to be pushing that, saying, look, I know, if you'd been in drug court, you would have had to pay $40 a month for 2 years, okay? Could you donate to us?
That would be great through an alumni association of some sort.
So maybe we end up doing that. And boy, if that worked, you guys could be the hit of the United States. All states would be totally impressed with something like that. So
Might bring that to their attention in the beginning when they first come into it, that it's gonna be saving you $40.
It's $20. We have veterans, it's $20 a month for you.
So $20 a month, so at the end of your program, if you could donate, you don't have to, but if it's within your power, if you have the ability to donate half of that. back to us.
Sponsor another
Sure,
person.
help people who can't, right? Sure.
Are we collecting the $20 now?
We don't
Okay,
wanna
again,
do
you're
it
not
right.
collecting a penny on anything at this point.
No. We're afraid to put our hands on any money. We don't
I
wanna-
agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Now, the $3,000 contribution, we need to get that working some way. You said we had somebody donate $3,000 to the veterans program.
it's in your place right now, bud. I got a receipt. So I know my secretary took it over to somebody over there. You and I don't even need to get involved anymore.
We just needed to know the name to write it to yesterday.
And the name was?
What name did you, I said call Bob Ravitz and ask him. What, I didn't know.
When David was
That's all
gonna
I did.
accept it into you all's fund, I said,
Yeah, I
no,
said-
don't do that.
I said, yeah, because he specifically said it was for veterans, so I said call Mr. Ravitz, because I don't know the name.
Okay, and you saw our list for next year, the meetings. Chair will entertain a motion to accept that.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Citizens' participation, is there any citizens wish to participate? Board comment, new business, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Thank you.
No, that veterans is, clearly that's a good program.
It's remarkable. Anybody who wants to see it, it's Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, I should.
You really should.
It's great. We had a Veterans Day